Rejection hurts, no matter who you are. Especially when you spent the time, energy, and effort in preparing a good grant proposal or submitting an application to a funder that you feel is a good fit for your organization. You've crossed every T, you've dotted every I, and then you get an email, or maybe nothing at all, but if you get an email, it says, "We regret to inform you." So you already know you haven't received that funding. Sound familiar? If you've ever heard that message and wondered, what did we do wrong? Why doesn't anyone want to fund us? Why can't we be like the other nonprofits? You're not alone. And today I'm going to help you fix that. Hey, I'm Ashley Adams of Lotus Nine, where we help new and grassroots nonprofit founders better position their nonprofits to obtain grant funding. And in today's video titled, Rejected Again, here's how smart nonprofits turn their no's into yeses. I'm going to show you how to bounce back from that rejection, mentally, strategically, and professionally. So you come out stronger, smarter, and ready for your next yes. Here's the thing, when we get rejected, especially from a foundation or a funder or a partnership that we wanted to collaborate with someone on, it's not really about the no, it's how that no makes us feel. So you start to take it personally, and that's understandable, but you have to take a step back and take it professionally. And when you do that, you position yourself to be more confident when you're applying for other grant opportunities. I know you're thinking, my nonprofit isn't ready yet. Nobody likes us. What's wrong with our mission? When will we get our chance to do good work in the community? I've helped several nonprofits through these types of feelings. So I worked with one nonprofit, very small, very grassroots, who wanted to submit an easy application. But you have to think about when the application is easy, not only do you know it's easy, all the other nonprofits know it's easy, so you're probably going to have more nonprofits applying for it. So it's going to make it a little more competitive. But anyway, back to this nonprofit. So they applied for the grant. It was an online application, very short, probably took maybe 15 to 20 minutes to submit everything once they had it together. Crickets. They hit the submit button. They never hear anything back from this nonprofit, from this grantor. So I looked on their website because I was somewhat familiar with them, and I know that they always announce their grantees on their website. So we went and looked. The nonprofit I was working with was not on the list month after month. So after about 3 or 4 months, it became clear they didn't get funded. But what they learned out of that, what I tried to help them learn out of that situation is, okay, you applied once, you see who actually won, let's reverse engineer it. We already know that you're a good fit for this foundation. How about we look at the grantees who they actually funded and see how you compare to them? Not to make this nonprofit not feel worthy enough for the foundation funding, but there has to be some kind of common denominator between the grantees. And when you look back at what the foundation's funding priorities are, you should see some kind of linkage and to compare to see where this nonprofit stood up against those comparisons. So my encouragement to this organization was, once you look at the different nonprofits that were awarded, apply again. And when you apply again, make some adjustments to your application. Since we never heard back from this foundation, you kind of have to take it into your own hands and figure out what was it about your application that this foundation didn't like. So if you've been rejected recently, this is my advice. Go back, look at the requirements and the application that you submitted. See if you really answered all the questions and crossed every T and dotted every I. And if you still feel like you should have been funded, look at who they actually funded. How do you compare to them? Because to be perfectly honest, it could have been a variety of reasons why you were rejected. It could have been a lot of organizations applied. Maybe they ran out of money. Maybe it was certain parts of your submission that they didn't like. Was it the evaluation part? Look at how you're getting people to go through your program. It has to be something that you can self-evaluate and look at and see that if you change it or modify it, would it make you more likely to get funded? Now, I say all of that with a caveat. This doesn't mean that you adjust your program to fit every single funder that you may come across. There may be something they didn't like in your proposal or something about your organization that is fundamental to who you are as a nonprofit. And I'm not saying you should change that, but I want you to step back and take a look to make sure that your alignment was where you thought it was with this foundation. And if it's not, and if it's something fundamentally is fundamental to the identity of your nonprofit, maybe they're not a good fit. So by no means do I mean adjust your organization, your nonprofit to fit every single funder, because you would be changing all the time. But I just want you to make sure and self-evaluate to make sure that what you submitted was what the foundation was looking for. So if you've been rejected recently, either from a partnership or potential grant opportunity, hang in there. Because I'm going to walk you through how to better position yourselves and how to turn that no into a yes with future applications. So we're going to cover three main points today. The first one being reframe your rejection. And by that, I mean, turn it into a teacher moment. Okay, you got rejected. Once you get over the initial pain or whatever you're feeling, or the anger, frustration that you're feeling, step back and take a good look at your submission. And this is this is going to be the first part of this video. We're looking at your mindset. You want to reframe the rejection. Take that rejection and turn it into a teaching moment. This is going to be the first step to shifting your mindset. Don't take it personally, take it professionally, and figure out where you can improve so you can be better the next time around. A no doesn't mean that your nonprofit isn't worthy. It just could mean that the funder had limited slots, your mission wasn't the best fit at this time, or maybe your storytelling really didn't convey the message that you thought it did. So here's what I always instruct my clients to do. When you get the rejection, read it over once, let it sink in, experience whatever feelings and emotions that you're experiencing, and then ask yourself, what can I learn from this? And what can I do differently next time? The more you apply and potentially get rejected, it's going to be easier to get rejected. And I'm not saying get used to getting rejected, but it's going to happen when you apply for grants. And when you do get rejected, use it as a learning opportunity, figure out where you went wrong, and improve on it that next time around. Our second point today is, and this is where a lot of nonprofits miss the mark, ask for feedback. And when you get the feedback, actually use it. I was at an event not too long ago where I was interacting with some foundation program officers, and that was one of their major pet peeves. When they actually do give feedback and the organization or the nonprofit reapplies in the next grant cycle, they submit the exact same proposal they submitted the first time around. Now, if you have feedback from the initial rejection, why wouldn't you use it? They're giving you the cheat code of how to win the next time around. So if you get rejected, or when you get rejected, if you have the contact information to the funder or program officer who you submitted the application or proposal to, send them a short, quick email. You could say something like, thank you for reviewing our proposal. We're committed to improving and would love any feedback that you may be able to provide so it can help us strengthen our future applications. Now, I'm going to be honest, not everyone is going to apply. But one tip that I've learned is that maybe immediately after you get the rejection isn't the best time to ask for feedback, because that organization is in the middle of their grant funding cycle. So while you're one of the rejections, you're probably not the only rejection. So they have to go through their rejections. They have to let the organizations know who won. And then they have to go through the process of getting them set up to receive the grant dollars. So maybe it would be better for you to wait a little bit, not too long, Wait a little bit after that funder is finished with their grant cycle, when things have cooled down a little bit as far as timing, and they may have more time to reach back out to you and let you know what feedback they have to share. I once had a foundation tell an organization I was working with that they actually loved the program and the mission of the nonprofit. It was just the issue they had with their evaluation plan. That's gold right there. So that lets you know the core program isn't the issue, it's just how we're evaluating it. So with that information, you could take a step back and look at your evaluation plan, maybe reach out to some other nonprofits who do similar work and kind of pick their brains and see how they handle their evaluations. I have another organization I worked with. They were rejected the first time around on a grant cycle. They reached out for feedback. They actually got a meeting with the program officer. So what that tells me is that the foundation actually liked their proposal and thought this nonprofit worthy enough that if we share this additional feedback, hopefully they'll apply again and we can afford them the grant dollars to continue the work in the community. So fortunately for me, coming in, assisting them with writing their application for that second grant cycle, I had actual notes from the meeting from the program officer, and this person went through almost line by line of their application and let them know what they didn't like, what they didn't understand, and really what all the feedback boiled down to was that they didn't write it clear enough for the program officer to understand what the nonprofit was talking about. So here's another tip. When you're writing a grant application or a proposal, make sure you write it in plain enough English that any stranger or common person that picks it up with the average IQ intelligence level can understand what you're talking about. When you use a lot of industry jargon and words that the average person doesn't know, it makes it difficult to read the grant application. And I'm also speaking as someone who has been on grant review committees. If I have to pull out a dictionary to get through your proposal or try to figure out what this term means because I'm not familiar with the work that you do, you're making me work harder to evaluate you in order to afford you these grant dollars. And most grant reviewers don't like that. So write in plain English. Make sure you explain yourself well enough so that anyone who picks up that proposal can understand what you're talking about. Okay, number 3, review, revise, and reapply. That's your comeback move. Once you get that feedback or you do that self-evaluation, revise your proposal or your application and then reapply on that next grant cycle. Don't let one no stop you from trying again, especially with the same funder. And like I mentioned before, when you're reapplying to the same funder, make sure you make some improvements and updates to your proposal. Usually most grants, some grant cycles are monthly, quarterly, or yearly. For sure in a year, you're not doing everything exactly the same as you did a year ago when you submitted that first application. So naturally, there should be some kind of changes and updates to what you're doing as an organization. Hopefully you're improving the work that you're doing. And this time, maybe try to reach out to the funder and make sure everything is the same as far as their funding priorities as they were the first time. Now, what you're doing without even realizing, you're developing a relationship with this funder. So every no doesn't have to be a closed door. Take your no's and turn them into yeses. Our last point today is regarding your confidence. Protect it at all costs. And this is something that I think we in the nonprofit world don't talk about enough. You have to protect your confidence because when you get rejected, it's going to be a slight hit to your confidence, but you have to stay motivated and keep doing the good work that you're doing because regardless whether you get the grant or not, your community still needs you. So every time something goes right, I recommend you jot it down in a notebook or create some kind of tracker to where you can track this information. A nonprofit that I worked at, we would have board meetings every month. And you know, there's always issues that come up with the population we serve, different hiccups. So that's easy to bring up. For whatever reason, the negative things always seem to stand out more than the positives. But something we started doing as an organization, on that agenda, we would put a positive items. So that was our opportunity to shine. We would spotlight any great staff that we had, any great outcomes that we have for our programs, any positive mentions we got in the media. Sometimes we will have people come in to tour the facility. So anything positive that we can think of that happened in that month, we will put it on the agenda. And once you get into the mode of doing this at your board meetings, it's going to be easier to remember, oh, we may have had this negative thing happen. We may have gotten rejected on this grant application, but we had this, and this positive to go on in our organization that month. So it's just a way to kind of keep your confidence up, because your confidence is needed to forward the mission of your organization to help your community. Okay, so let's wrap up today's video. The key points we discussed today were: reframe your rejection, don't take it personal, take it professionally. Number 2, ask for feedback, and when you get feedback, use it to grow and improve. Number 3, review, revise, and reply. Turn your no into a yes the next time around. And finally, protect your confidence. Keep track of your wins and remind you as a nonprofit founder, your staff, your volunteers, your board members of all the great work that you actually do out in the community. So I have some action steps for you. Number 1, revisit your last rejection email if you have one and see how you can apply that feedback. Number 2, draft a short, respectful feedback request to that funder. Now, depending on how long ago you got that rejection, it may not be applicable, but if it's too long, you feel, in your opinion, still reach out to that funder and just kind of strike up a conversation and, let them know about your organization, you applied in the past, and that you just want to make sure the funding priorities of that funder has not changed because you plan to apply in the future for their grant cycle. Then finally, spend 10 minutes going through the events of your organization the last month or maybe the last quarter, and jot down every positive thing that you can think of that happened within your organization. And I want you to take that information and put it in a tracker. You can use the Word, or you can use Microsoft Excel, a Google Doc. You can even track it on your phone. And maybe you got 10 volunteers, 10 additional volunteers. Maybe you hit some milestones within your organization. Whatever positive you could think of, jot it down in a Word document, on a sticky note, anywhere you could think of, and make that a regular practice. Review your wins, be aware of your losses, but always, always make sure you keep your confidence up so you can do the good work that you do. Don't forget, rejection isn't a dead end, it's just an opportunity to learn and to grow. The nonprofits that get funded, it's not that they're always getting funded. They get rejected too. It's just what they do with that rejection that makes them stand out amongst the other nonprofits. So don't stop showing up. Your mission is important, and don't let anyone quiet the work that you're doing. That's all I have for you today. If you found this video educational, encouraging, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, or share it with another nonprofit founder who may need a boost of confidence. And if you haven't already done so, grab your free nonprofit grant readiness checklist. A link to it is in the notes of today's video. See you next time, and remember, every rejection brings you one step closer to the right opportunity. Have a good one. See you in the next video.